Viewers, welcome back to Dukascopy TV today. Well, recently I took a trip to the United Nations for the World Economic Situation and Prospects Report 2013. There I spoke to Alfredo Calcagno, Head of Macroeconomic and Development Branch at UNCTAD, and today he's back in the studio to have a look at UNCTAD's views on the current crisis and what alternative policy measures could be implemented. So, welcome today.
Thank you for inviting me.
First of all, Alfredo, we see austerity a lot at the moment being implemented in the Eurozone. Now, austerity is only one symptom of the crisis. It doesn't look at the causes. Now, in terms of austerity, do you think it is the right approach, or is it actually slowing down the recovery and stunting growth a little bit?
Yes, as you rightly said, austerity is addressing one symptom of the crisis, which is fiscal deficit and high levels of public debt. But that was not the cause of the crisis. No, it is because of the crisis that the debt increased, because governments had to bail out banks and also lost a lot of income through taxation. The true cause of the crisis is on the financial side. No, it is a financial crisis. And it is also related to inequality in different countries, which led households and also firms to overborrow. And then what happened next is that demand shrank, because when you have a financial crisis, you cannot pay your debts, you cut your expenditure. And then at the first moment, in 2008, 2009, governments had to step in and to stimulate economy. And that was a right answer. The problem with austerity begins just later, when governments got scared about the level of the debt and then tried to adjust their expenditure, basically, in order to give a signal to the financial markets that yes, they are going to pay that debt. And this is a problem from the UNCTAD point of view, because this is getting worse, the problem of insufficient demand. And if you don't have demand, you don't have investment or growth, and you don't have employment, and you do not solve the fiscal problems either. The question is that you have then a view that in order to exit the crisis, you need to have confidence, no? To recover the confidence of the financial markets. And it may be a paradox that you want to get that confidence through measures that may deepen the crisis. You know? Increase unemployment. All this, in principle, is not good for confidence. But governments believe, or some governments believe, that this is the way for economic recovery. First, get the confidence of the financial sector, and then everything will go okay. Our view is that first you must grow, and confidence will come later. This is the experience in all previous financial crises.
And Alfredo, the crash left policymakers at a crossroads. Now, what were the options? What were the mistakes made? And what do you think were the alternative measures and alternative options that were actually ignored?
Well, first I think that there was a diagnosis mistake. In late 2009, early 2010, several governments and the International Monetary Fund announced that the crisis was already solved, that the private sector had taken the baton and now was consuming, and that was a mistake. And I can say that UNCTAD said that it was premature to withdraw public stimulus because it was not true that the private sector already was consuming and investing normally. It was clearly not the case, because they still have to deal with huge debts, and they want to pay those debts, not to get new debts. And that is why it was premature to withdraw fiscal stimulus. That was then a first mistake, the diagnosis mistake. The other one, I could say it is a wrong economic conception that understated the cost of withdrawing fiscal stimulus. And this is known as the multiplier effect. Now, if you spend less from the public sector, especially if you are spending in infrastructure, in transfers to the poor, you are going to cut growth as well, because you are cutting demand, and you have a problem of demand. Then, through this multiplier, the losses in terms of growth will be too high. And the economic mistake was that was understated and underestimated. So the fact is that then if you cut your expenditure and your stimulus, and that worsens the economic activity, then you also lose income through taxation. And then you are not adjusting anything. If you try to adjust at some moment, adjustment does not adjust. And this was then the second mistake, I would say, an economic mistake. And then that led, this diagnosis mistake and this economic mistake led to wrong policy recommendations, wrong policy measures that actually then lengthened the depression and led to the double dip, this new fall in economic activity.
And what does UNCTAD believe policymakers can do over the next 5 years to help the whole recovery process and growth?
Well, UNCTAD is relatively optimistic in one point. The point is that we believe that the policy space is wider than what is usually believed. We think that several countries have enough policy space, including fiscal space, to do more in terms to support demand, which is the big problem, lack of demand. And especially countries that have surpluses in the current account and a relatively low fiscal deficit, they definitely could increase their expenditure. Not only in the fiscal side. That is another point, that we think that another tool that could be used besides the fiscal and the monetary usual tools is incomes policy. If you redistribute income in order to make the poor consume more, because that is what they are going to do. If you give them more income, they are not going to speculate, they are not going to save that, they are going to consume and then stimulate the economy. If you provide that through the incomes policy, that extra income to the poor, then you are going to help restore demand. And the other thing that you must do definitely is to restructure and re-regulate the financial system in order to make it work for the real economy and not for itself, not the other way around, in which the real economy seems to be working for the financial system. So by then having a redistribution of income and also a restructuring of the financial system, you would be addressing the real root of the crisis and at the same time providing the stimulus and the changing framework for sustained recovery.
Thank you very much, Alfredo.
Thank you.
Well, viewers, that is it for right now, but do stay tuned to Dukascopy TV for more economic updates and Forex analysis. But for now, goodbye.